Hello everybody, this is Lark and welcome back to Lark's Lounge. Oh, it's been a while since I've spoken to you guys. I say that literally every video, but it actually has because some of those videos are like pre-recorded. I've been like busy doing RL stuff such as drinking all night, sleeping all day, as my best friend put it. Anyway, I'm back. In my last video I didn't sound nearly as chirpy, and that was because I was like literally dead in my bed from a week of like non-stop drinking. I don't know, I was partying hard, okay? It's just what I do. So I was doing that. I'm back now. I still feel sort of sick though, because last night I did go out again. Someone stopped me, I have a problem. But yeah, I went out again last night, so I'm sort of still a little bit dead, but I'll try and up the energy. But today I thought I'd do something a little more helpful, rather than just random showcases of events and stores. Today I am doing basically how I do my photography in Second Life. Now you're probably sitting there thinking, basically, what the hell, like, can't you just say how you do it? The thing is, I say basically because I'm trying to keep it really broad and general. I'm just going to give you the basics for starting your photography or improving your photography, because if I get into detail it's going to be about an hour long video, just because the photography options in here are they have so much variety, and it's going to take me ages to explain every little thing I do because I do it differently a lot of the time. So yeah, today I'm going to basically explain a couple of my techniques, including a few things you should know when beginning photography, or even if you're just improving and you're watching it. So here are some notes and tips. First we'll get started with something very simple that even some of the best photographers I know didn't know existed until recently, and that is the Control 0 function. Now, a lot of people don't know this when taking photos, but this is one of the key tools to taking a good photo in world. And basically what it does, it's really hard to explain, but you press Control and then while holding down Control, press 0. And this sort of zooms you in. But not only that, it flattens out the image. So if you're doing a close-up, you can see you can flawlessly zoom in to a product or a piece of jewelry or whatever without getting that fishbowl effect. So if you just randomly zoomed in, do you see how you have the fishbowl effect? You have no foreground or background. Whereas if you did the Control 0 right now, you can nicely zoom in without having that whole rounded effect. I don't really know how to explain it, but it basically just flattens the image and gives you more depth and foreground and background. To zoom back out, you can also press Control 8. So once you press Control 8 or Control 0, it still keeps your flattened effect, but it's just zooming you in and out. And to get rid of this completely and go back to your regular camera view, you just press Control 9 and you'll go back to looking normal. And this function is the most simple way to start with your photos, because, I don't know, it just creates a foreground and a background, and it's what I use it for is, well, not only to flatten an image and to create depth, but sometimes I'll use it to peer through leaves or something, and I'll give you an example of that. So basically here I have just put out a tree. Nothing really special, but what I'm going to show you is how you can sort of peer through the branches. Now, as you can see, just zooming in and out just literally zooms you in and out, but if you use the Control 0 function, it sort of keeps your camera in place but zooms in, and so you can get that nice peering through the branches effect. For some reason it also makes my shadows look sterling. So that's an example of what I use Control 0 for. You can move it around so, you know, she's peering through the branches here, blah blah blah. And I'll show you one more thing that comes with this feature. So Control 8 zooms you out, Control 0 sort of pushes you in. But if you want to be able to adjust this, do some really anal adjustments, you can toggle the view angle, which still does the same exact thing, which does, you know, the whole flattening thing, but you can do it very subtly. Now what I do, if I'm using this, I rarely do, I will click it and then just nudge the left and right keys if I only want to zoom in ever so slightly, because the Control 0 and Control 8, as you can see, jumps it quite a bit. And yes, my shadows look horrendously shit right now because my computer just can't handle anything above 1 moment. So to get to the sort of toggling of the view angle, you just click Photo Tools, the view angle, which is right here, to zoom yourself in and out. And to get Photo Tools, if you don't have it already, there are a couple of ways. So you can go up here, click World, go down to Photo and Video and click Photo Tools, or to open it with the hotkey, you press Alt and then P and it will pop it up. What I do is I have it on my toolbar, and to add it to your toolbar, you right click your toolbar down the bottom. This is for Firestorm, by the way. Click Toolbar Buttons and you see you have 6 trillion options here. And once you find Photo Tools, where is it? I already have it, but like, so you find it. Once you find whatever you want, you click on it. So just say I want mouse look, you click on it and you can drag it onto your toolbar. So now I have that mouse look button there. I don't really want it though, so I'm just going to like drag it off. The next thing I'm going to talk to you about is windlight. Now, a lot of people sort of don't understand the concept of windlight. They think, oh, if I just do, you know, this and this and this, I'll make it yellow, blah blah blah, and line up the face, I'll be fine. This will be a good photo. But holy shit, I just died. Okay. But what I like to do with windlight is to create atmosphere and feeling and colour and shadows, and that is something that people a lot of the time underestimate, or not underestimate, but like misuse when creating photos. So if you just take a look at the picture I have on the screen right now, you can see we have all the nice blue lavender tones to match the background, blah 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 blah. But not only that, we have a couple of really interesting shadows throughout the picture as well. Like, I'm not trying to like toot my own horn or anything, I just don't want to like show you guys other people's examples because I want to like steal anyone's work. But basically you can see here, not only does it illuminate the product well, the product being the jumpsuit, the scarf, sort of the shoes, etc., but it gives a feeling that we're in a room. Now this entire picture was a set, but you can see from the windlight that it looks like she's just standing in a room having filtering sunlight, just relaxing with her tea on the table, and it really creates atmosphere, and I guess in a sense it creates realism. The other thing with windlight, not only is the light on your avatar or clothing important, but the shadows are just as important because that helps to create foreground and background. So again, if we take a look at one of the photos I've done, this one in particular, you can really see just by the shadows where you're meant to be looking, which is the chick, aka me, right in the middle. And with the shadows, it carves out where we're not meant to be looking, which is the shadows being reflected, blah blah blah, behind her, off the little triangle things, and it creates a lot of definition. And you can really play with the colour of your shadows and the colour of your light. I'll get into detail with colouring your photos with windlight later, but if you just like, you can see it really adds lots of definition, a focal point, and atmosphere to your photos. So rather than just having a drop shadow, which is what we'd call something like this, which is another thing I did, and you can just see it's literally just got the shadow, her shadow behind her, rather than just have a story within the photo, like, you know, you really get a feel for where she is, or he, or your model, or what they're doing when playing with the shadows. So it's not really just a matter of, you know, having the shadows there, it's sort of also where you place them. I went off on like a tangent that I like wasn't meant to even talk about, but there are some ways you can edit your windlights, okay, and there are a few ways to get to this. The simple way on Firestorm is you can just go down here and click Quick Prefs or Quick Preferences, and basically you can adjust this little slider here, which adjusts sort of where the sun is, for whatever current windlight you're using. You can see what windlights you currently have on here. So right now I have Just Relax, which is one I named myself because I made it myself. I don't know, I just name them really dumb stuff all the time, okay? Don't judge me, it's just like easier for me to remember if they have a stupid name. Okay, And to adjust where the sun is shining, basically like what you're doing with this slider is adjusting the angle where the sun is above you. So right now the sun would be like to the left of us, over the top, to the right, and this is important in remembering when you're trying to cast shadows, because this is what helps you master the windlight. The way I usually go about creating a windlight is you can either go to your photo tools, which I showed you how to open before, and you get all the same options, like all your windlights here, but I usually go new sky preset. Now keep in mind that it has all the options of your current one, so if you want a good base windlight, I actually would recommend strawberrysing.com avatar close-ups, because this one doesn't have any depth of field or strange shadows. It's very, very basic and plain white. So if you want to start using a windlight, I would recommend one of Strawberry Sing's just to start off. What I do from there is go new sky preset, as I said, and you can see it's very basic. If you're stemming off someone else's, yours will look different, but for the sake of this, here we are. Now when creating your windlight, you've got to remember a couple of things. What kind of photo are you taking? Does it make the product look good? Does it contribute to the feel that you're trying to achieve? So when you're taking photos and adjusting your windlight, always keep in mind what you're trying to show. So for example, if I'm trying to show this green, like these two green, like the top and the bottom, I'm not going to make my windlight green like that, because that just does not look right. It takes away from the color of the product. It does not look good. It doesn't give me a nice vibe. So keeping all of those things in mind when you're creating a windlight, you can then adjust it. So keeping things basic, I'm just going to show you the few things you should remember when creating your windlight. So we'll start from the bottom. So obviously one of the most important things here that people take for granted a lot of the time is the east angle. Now this means basically you have your sun over the top, right? So just say the sun is directly here, but then it changes where it is in relation to sort of its orbit. I don't really know how to explain it, but just say the sun is coming from right up here. You can see it cast a shadow down there. So if we change this, you can see how it pivots around, which is where like the sun's sort of circling. So this is very important to remember. And this is one of the best things you can do, because just say you get, just say you have the shadow there and you're like, why is it not casting onto my chick and looking really cool? You can then alter your east angle and play with that in order to get the kind of windlight you want. And it also depends which way you're facing, mind you, okay? But generally speaking, next you obviously have this slider, which shows you all the stuff. Now I know it has like nighttime, sunset, blah blah blah, but those don't really apply if you're making your own. This is merely just the position of the sun in relation to the windlight you have selected. If you want a sunrise or whatever, you can click quick windlights and play with it from there, although I would not recommend that because they're usually really terrible looking. Now another important thing we have in terms of windlight is gamma. So if I just chuck us back to, like, I don't know, just have the tree here, sure, why not? I'll show you what gamma does. Basically, if you guys have ever played video games and you have to adjust the gamma, it means adjusting how bright something is. Now this can make or break a photo, and I'll show you why. If you have it too dark, yeah, it looks eerie, but you start to get this orange tint from where it's completely stuffing up because you have it dark. And I'll show you this in a very extreme example. So see, she has the orange highlight on her face because the gamma is too low. If you have it too high, it just looks awful. So you gotta try and find a sweet spot, and I usually keep mine between 50 to 75 and 150, depending on these two colors here. Now, it also depends on the mood you want your picture in. So say I want it bright and happy and blah blah blah, I can adjust bits and pieces of this just quickly. So just like, oh, it's a summery day. That's too dark for me, so I might want to, make it a little bit brighter. There you go, it's summer. Ta-da! Here we are in, I don't know, Florida. Where is it sunny? I don't know. And adjusting the gamma can contribute towards that, as you can see. But just say I want it darker, adjusting the gamma can instantly give the entire picture a different mood. And then from there, you can go on and edit these. Like I said, I wouldn't recommend doing it too dark though, because then it sort of breaks. I don't know, it doesn't really break, but it just sort of stuffs up. If you want to know more about these 3 functions here under the sun and moon settings, you can actually hover over them and it gives you what it is, or I'll probably do another video or more in depth of what wind lights are, or I can link you to Cassie Mills' video where she explains these in details as well if you are in a rush to know what they are. Moving up, we have sun and moon color and ambient. Now, along with, well, these are really important, okay? To make a good photo, you don't just use a white shadow and, white sunlight and a black shadow. I'm just going to adjust this. You're probably thinking white highlights, black shadows. Okay, a good photographer never uses black to shade. And I'm not saying I'm just like some great photographer who knows everything, but generally speaking, you get more depth and more interest by just tinting it, even a little. So see, if I just move this up to the red, even the tiniest bit, we already get more interest because you get this red, hue. And obviously the contrast is really high, and contrast is basically like light to dark. So you can adjust that, blah blah blah. We'll get into that later though. I know I keep saying that, but anyway. Ambient, it applies to the shadows. This is how I like to think of it. Ambient applies to the shadows, the tint of the shadows, and sun and moon color applies to the tint of the highlight, basically. So keeping that in mind, that's how I guess you can start to craft wind light for your photos. So what I personally like to do, I know some people muck around with these, like we can go like bright red and I don't know, green, I don't know. But basically, if you want an interesting photo, less is more in my opinion, because there's nothing you can't fix in post. Like this looks sort of interesting, but it takes away from the product. So if I can just adjust this and make it more cooler to I guess to help this product stand out, I think that would do a world of difference. And I guess that's where you'll succeed when taking photos, is knowing when to adjust the wind light appropriately. Another thing I really like to do, this will seem very over the top, but I do like full white sun and moon color, and like something really ridiculous, like a ridiculous color like this. And I can play with the max alt settings right here. So if I just adjust it a little bit, because that looks freaking stupid, you can see how it sort of adjusts the contrast. So the higher the contrast, the more, like, the bigger the difference, I guess, is between light and dark. So if you put that like to the higher setting, you like literally can't see it. I usually play with this a little, okay? Just because it adds a lot of interest, in particular when using colors, because I find that it actually like tints your colors a little. So just say I have blue or green, it's sort of, this was not a good example, maybe red. It sort of tints your colors just a little. So now you see like a little bit of green in it too. I'm going to leave it here. I had way more stuff written down, but I think I'm going to do a few parts of this, basically, photography, whatever. Now, I know I didn't do a very good job of explaining it. If you want really, really in-depth comments and not comments, if you want really, really in-depth videos, I suggest checking out people like Strawberry Sing. I'll link her video that she did for beginners. Yeah, I'd check out her video if you are interested in finding out exactly the purpose of like all of these tools and such, because she does do a very good job of explaining it. I just did shockingly, but this is sort of just meant to be very basic. So that is it for this part. I'll be back with part 2 of basically how I do my photography. If you guys like this, let me know. If it was helpful, let me know. Otherwise, I don't know, I feel like I didn't do a very good job at explaining it, but I feel like you get the drift. I don't know. I'll go through things like the light and depth of field in the next part, I think. But for now, I hope you guys are having a great day, a week or a month, or I don't know. Depends where you're watching it or when. And I will see you later, alligators. Bye-bye.